Okay, so I'm gonna call Amy. Are you recording? Okay, Amy, you should have been here, because this is for you. Anyway, so for those of you who don't know, my name is Mai. So I will be talking about getting into a graduate program in the biological sciences. So the general process is you typically apply in the fall. So when I'm talking about grad programs, I'm talking about the PhD, not a master's, but it falls along the same lines. So you would apply in the fall. It requires the following: a statement of purpose or personal statement. This is usually for applying for like med school and pharmacy school. You also need like a personal statement. You need to state your reasons for seeking admission into the PhD program. You have to describe research interests, experiences, outline future goals that you may want to achieve with the research that you're going to do or want to do, and provide reasons why you feel like you're a good candidate for the program. And you have to keep in mind that everyone applying is going to say that they love research. So what makes you different from everyone else?
It's going to be legendary.
Sorry, that's my fault.
You also need to take the GREs, which is your equivalent, your high school equivalent, or wait, college, yeah, grad school equivalent of the SATs. And depending on which school you apply to, you may need to take subject tests, GRE subject tests. You need 3 letters of recommendation and a transcript. So your GPA should be comparable. Like no one can get into grad school with like a 2.0. That's just not going to happen. Next. So to see whether you're interested in the biological sciences, so you may be a biology major, biochemistry, and you really are unsure what you want to do, what you should definitely do is volunteer or work in a lab. So when I say volunteer or work, so volunteering in a research lab is you get a higher chance of actually doing research. If you want to work in a lab, what will end up happening is they're going to make you do pretty much slave labor, but you'll get paid for it. So if you need money, that is always an option to work in a lab, maybe wash glassware. In our lab, we have a person who takes care of fly stocks. So they always come out of the fly room smelling like flies and bring it with them to their class. We have a solution maker and those kinds of jobs. And you don't really get to know the research that that the people in the lab are doing, but it does get your foot in the door, and then like talk to. It also allows you to talk to grad students who may be in the lab or postdocs who are doing research, so you get a feel for what they're doing and see whether you're actually interested in that kind of work. And also, if you work in that lab for some time, maybe like 6 months, and you're maybe interested in it, you may offer like, say like, hey, I want to do research, can I watch you, or can I do some research of my own? And most of them are more than willing to help you, because at one point in time, someone helped them. And so, yeah, and also if you find that the lab that you're volunteering or working in isn't really this one for you, so some people work in stem cells and they find out that they hate working with cells, it's always better to switch labs. So try multiple labs, see which one you fit into, and that way you can find out which area of biology you're more interested in. Because biology is a very, very vast field. There's stem cells, there's developmental, you could work biomedical sciences, so dealing with cancer, genetics, if you want to work with yeast. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. Also, to see if you're more interested, this actually goes back into applying for grad school. A lot of schools actually really want you to have teaching experience, because like at a very, very big research university like UCSD, part of the program is actually making or having you teach, become a TA. I think for the first year you don't teach, but second, third, and fourth year you have to TA at least once a year. So they want to see that you're not only can you do the research, but you're able to convey the research that you're doing and make it seem fun to students that you're teaching. So they want to make sure that you're teaching. This is just a funny comic from PhD Comics. So even if you're like not research based, you should just look at this because I love their comics. They're very funny. So the attendance is exponential, and this is actually very, very true. As I was a TA, I TA for I think 8 undergrad courses. Also for biology majors, becoming a TA is actually also a good source of income. I think you get paid, I want to say $12.50 an hour for 10. So you get to teach 10 hours a week, and you don't actually have to work 10 hours. You just put down 10 hours. It's just a set time. And for the most part, I think I work maybe 5, 6 hours. Kevin's outside. Just. So yeah, like office hour attendance. I pretty much am sitting there in the office for a good part of the time. I think maybe like, so we have 1 office hour a week. 6, 7 of those, no one shows up. I end up going on Facebook. And the day right before the exam, we get an influx of students. And then the day grades are posted, everyone wants regrades. Best times to hold office hours? Friday afternoons, because no one comes to office hours on Fridays. Class time, that you can't actually have office hours during class time. And the day after homework is due, because no one has any questions. Never reveal to students your cell phone number, your home address, your personal life, or yourself. Beware the pre's. Pre-med, lives will depend on me. Can I get an A for C work? Pre-business, my tuition pays you as your customer. I demand an A. Pre-law, I can't be responsible for material covered during class I skipped. And pre-PhD, yes, but why? Because as a PhD student, you're always asking why. Why does this work? Why are you giving me a B for C work? Okay. So good. So if you're not sure if the biological sciences are right for you, I suggest 3 things. So networking is always really important, especially with, especially like MASA, being part of MASA is actually a very good way to network, just because you have access to older students who are in different fields and whatnot. So like, what is it? Alumni to me, or like older students to me. There are a lot of engineers. Unfortunately, I was not an engineer, but the mechanical engineer that I knew someone who worked in the lab and was lab manager and had the power to hire people, undergrads. And I was an undergrad looking for a job. So I actually contacted him, or asked my mechanical engineer friend to introduce me to the lab manager, and I ended up getting a job there. And it's actually the same lab that I'm working in now. So networking is great. And also, if you're unsure whether PhD is what you want to do, you should ask them, and ask a variety of people. If people in the PhD program, there's like I wouldn't say unlimited options, but I mean, at a big university, at a research-based university here, you're going to come across a lot of people who want to go into academia. They want to get a PhD and become a professor, and work in a lab, become a PI, a principal investigator, and what is it called? Boss people around. Just kidding. So they just they want to do research, or have people do research for them, and also teach at the same time. At smaller universities, like more liberal arts universities, they focus more on teaching. But getting a PhD, that's just, so there's the academia side, which is being a professor in a lab, and then there's also the industry side, where you can work in a biotech, where Jacob will actually talk more about that. He's going to put it in there somewhere. There's that, and I mean, really with a PhD, it just opens up your options more. I believe I heard someone talk about how they're currently a PhD student here in the biology program, and they were approached by a beer brewing company because they offered him a job as like a consultant to help make beer, because I mean they're using yeast and biologist can engineer the yeast to have it express something and make the beer maybe taste differently. So I mean, having a PhD in biology is very useful, and it's not limited to just academia. Take time off. So I got my master's and then I took a year off. Yes, I was doing research, but that was because I wasn't completely sure I wanted to do a PhD. Because with a PhD, it's not a set 4 years. You do research for 4 years and then you graduate. It's not like that at all. With PhD, it's like, if you're lucky, 4 years. If you're not so lucky, 7 years. It just depends on how your research goes, and it may not go well. It's a combination of hard work and luck. And so yeah, you take your time off, gather more experience, and see whether you want to do. It's just a funny little comment with to PhD or not to PhD. That's just the question. And yeah, to graduate, to sleep, to nap, perchance to dream. Next slide. Okay. So personal experience in terms of all the research or the biology-related things that I've done. In high school, I actually attended a summer program where I was exposed to research early on. So I kind of was interested in it, wasn't sure. Ended up becoming a biology major just because I liked it. And then I ended up working in a research lab, became a teaching assistant as an undergraduate, found out that I love teaching undergrads. I cannot teach high schoolers whatsoever. I do not have the patience at all. And I just really, really love teaching, and that feeling that of gratification, like when students start come up to me after class, because I also guest lectured for a class of 150 students, and it was really awesome. They all came up, or some of them came up to me afterwards, and they asked me oh, I had a question about this, because they're all too shy to ask in front of everyone. But it's just really gratifying to show them and to see their faces go, oh, okay. So I really like that. And so I finished, and then I entered the MSBS program at UCSD. So for biology majors at UCSD, they have this nifty little thing called MSBS. It's an integrated program, so you actually only spend at the minimum an extra year onto your. So they tack on. During your 4th year, you start doing research. It's called, I think it's BISP 199. So you start doing research for all of your 4th year, so you get 3/4 of that. And then you take on an extra 3/4 of research and graduate classes, and then you get your master's. So as opposed to taking 2 years to get your master's at another program outside of UCSD, UCSD has this integrated program where you just spend an extra year and just get your master's. And also this program is good because you don't actually have to take the GRE. If you just really suck at taking tests and just want a master's, just do this. And I took a year off after getting my master's just to make sure that research was what I really wanted to do. And it was, so I ended up applying and entered the PhD program in the biological sciences at UCSD. So every school has different programs that are geared towards specific subjects. This is just the most general one, the biological sciences. UCSD also has neurosciences. They also have biomedical sciences, bioinformatics. They're very specific. I think Harvard has stem cell and other subjects or other divisions that you can apply to and get into if that's your thing. Next slide. So what is grad school like? How grad school, this is just a comic, I'll explain more in detail. But all-day napping is acceptable. You pretty much get to set your own schedule. It's not a 9-to-5 job. You can come in at 6 p.m. and work until 2 in the morning if you want. You can just schedule your experiments whenever you want. If you're busy Friday, you can take Friday off and just come in on Saturday or Sunday. The PI does not care as long as you get results. So if you're someone who is very efficient with their time, you spend a lot of time planning, say at home, you can plan at home and then come to lab, put in 6 hours, get the results you want, you're done, pretty much. There's constant adult supervision. This is a joke. It depends on what your PI or who your PI is, your principal investigator. And some new principal investigators will actually watch you or make sure that you're on top of your things because they need to get tenure. So they need you to do the research, to get papers published so you can get tenure. Older or more experienced PIs will actually just leave you alone and let you be an independent worker. If you need help, they're there to help you. You get cookies for lunch, free food. Who doesn't love free food? Let's see. Most common activities, cutting and pasting, making presentations for conferences and mainly where you're presenting your work and lab presentations and whatnot. There are no grades, you just have to play well with others. First year there are grades, but a lot of professors will tell you that grades do not matter in grad school. Most universities they like to grade inflate, so it makes their school look better. Grades don't matter. Someone can show up to all their classes while someone else does not show up to any, and they'll get the same grade, an A. That doesn't mean that you should ditch. I mean, you are putting in what you are getting out what you put in, and crying for your mommy is normal. It happens. Research, there's a lot of ups and downs about research, and if you're unwilling to take the downs, you probably should not do research. Because with research, like I said, it goes anywhere from 4 years to 7 years or more. Some people just don't finish because they can't get their stuff to work. And a lot of the times it's troubleshooting. A lot of the times most things will not work. And you will troubleshoot for 6 months, get your experiments to work for 3 weeks. You finish that set of your experiments, and then on to the next part where you're troubleshooting some more. Okay. How you spend your time. I don't know if this is too small, but it's like AKA other Facebook, napping, sleeping in class, usually hungover. There's a lot of alcohol in grad school. Yeah. If any of you ever do go to interviews for grad school, I would suggest not drinking too much. They will encourage you to drink because that is how we get to see the other side of you. I've been part of the recruiting committee, and we want to see how you are drunk. Like, are you able to handle yourself? Do you know your limits? Like, are you going to be passed out at the toilet? Like, that's not a good sign if we see you do that. Yeah, and yeah, so just you can figure out your own schedule. There are times for like leisurely activities and whatnot. I had a grad student friend who went to Disneyland every so often. So you have time to have fun. You just need to be able to pace your schedule. Okay, next slide. Questions? Woohoo.